Hello and welcome back to the NAS Metal Projected channel here at YouTube. And of course, welcome to another currently listening to. This, of course, is now the second one this week. Last week was all vinyl. This one is all CD. So without trying to extend this any longer, let's just get right into it. I'm just going to start with mostly some obvious ones here just to quickly run through all of this. So the first one here, Sad Wings of Destiny from Judas Priest. Let me kind of shut this slide off. Ah, perfect. So yeah, here we go again. Sad Wings of Destiny. I don't need to say anymore. It's a classic. This, of course, is the 2011 Repertoire CD reissue, of course, remastered. Great album. I don't need to say anything more about it. Second one here, got this just definitely recently, of course. I showed it in my Fresno Dig video. Of course, is the Iron Maiden first album. This, of course, is the 2018 reissue. I was going to say 2015, but it uses the 2015 remasters. That was for the iTunes stuff, but it's there. Classic. Don't need to say anything more. It's just a great album from Iron Maiden, one of my favorites, and definitely was happy to, of course, add this to the collection to kind of finish off most of the 80s stuff from Iron Maiden. Another one, don't need to say anything more. The first album from Moxie, just a great album from just great 70s Canadian hard rock. Just great stuff. Another one, of course, from 1975 that I did. Of course, I talked, of course, about in my top 25 of 1975, or was it 35? It was 25 of 1975, of course, showing here Fighting from Thin Lizzy. Just a great album, of course. Just a classic album. Don't need to say anything more. Another one, of course, the band, of course, released our newest single this year, and some of the newest stuff already from this band, and I love this band, of course. Ambush, great Swedish new wave traditional heavy metal. Of course, this being my favorite album of theirs. I like Desecrator, but this is my favorite. But their new single sounds like it might be pretty good, and it seems like they will be releasing something like a new full-length here then, so can't wait for that. But again, felt like busting out this classic debut album from Ambush, Firestorm. Again, speaking of some great sort of 70s hard rock, we've got, of course, Stunt Rock from Sorcery. Great album. Love this album. Just great 70s, or pretty much almost proto-metal, but still very good stuff from these guys out of Los Angeles, California. I believe, yeah, they're from Los Angeles, these guys, but again, great stuff from them. Also, speaking of some new wave of British heavy metal here, we got, of course, Legend, with the anthology disc, which, of course, features their first two LPs, the self-titled album from 1981, and Death in the Nursery from 1982, and, of course, featuring the Frontline EP from 1982, and a rare demo from 1983, which is okay, but all the two full-length albums are all great stuff. But the Frontline EP is also pretty good, but still, the first two are just great new wave of British heavy metal albums. So, Legend there. Also, this is also along with that Iron Maiden. This was also something I got very recently, of course, in my Fresno Dig video. That's, of course, is the third album from Metal Church, Blessing in Disguise. Don't need to say anything much, though, about it. So, just, I'll leave that also. I've also done a review for this one, like I said in that Fresno Dig video and stuff. But still, this is just a great album. Really good album. Of course, the debut from Mike Howe, of course. But, so with that, I don't need to say anything more. Just a great album, and always very good to bust out here and there. So, Blessing in Disguise from Metal Church. Alright, I guess for now, gonna get to some ones I will have some sort of stuff to say about. One here being Opprobrium, though technically this was when they were, at least this album was when they were under the name Incubus. of course, Serpent Temptation. This, of course, is the Relapse reissue that has it under the Opprobrium name, but it's pretty much the original recording. Everything when I think it was when they were on Metalworks, I believe they were on. I can't remember if it was Metalworks records I think they were on. But still, this is a great fucking album, though, from these guys. Great death thrash. I've heard they do have some Christian themes to them, but it's not as in your face in some places than it is, because there's some songs that almost seems a little very interesting that they compare to most others. But this is still a great death thrash album, so very good. Of course, also features some demo stuff on here as bonus tracks, but still very nice to have. So, Serpent Temptation from Incubus, though here under their new name, Opprobrium, or Opprobrium, I guess is one of the ways, I think is the traditional way to say it. Alright, so there was that. Other one also I was listening to, because this is an album I've been here and there wrapping my head around a little more and more. That's, of course, the Stormbringer from Deep Purple. This was the second album for, of course, the David Coverdale and Glenn Hughes, but was also at the time the very last one for Ritchie Blackmore, who would leave after this and then form Rainbow. But this one, the more and more I hear it, the more I end up liking a bit more. I mean, quite honest, I think this is probably a much better album than, let's say, albums like Slaves and Masters, for an example. It's like, this may not be considered one of the band's very best sounds, especially from the 70s period, but it's still better than, like I said, Slaves and Masters, or even to some extent, The Battle Rages On. But still, good album, though. Not a bad album, though, from them. It's definitely got a very interesting feel to it. Some of it kind of almost seems like, for the most part, almost blueprints for what would become, or at least what David Coverdale would do with Reading and Willing from his own band, Whitesnake, which he would form after the breakup, or the first breakup of Deep Purple. So, Stormbringer, this, of course, is the Rhino reissue from 2016, which, of course, features some of the Glenn Hughes remixes, and a instrumental highball shooter, and of course on disc 2 being the original quad mix version of the album. So very cool stuff. The quad mix is interesting, but it's not something I listen to all the bit. I think it's not one of the best, I would say, of the quad mixes. I would say you can, or at least when it comes to because they are usually very interesting to have, but the quad mix here, it's decent, but it's okay. Either way, great to have it. So, Stormbringer from Deep Purple. Here's another album also great to finally have, and I almost did a unearthed video on this one. This, of course, is an actual physical copy of Patagonia. Patagonia from Blind Horse, which are out of good sort of stoner psych heavy rock or so out of Brazil. I actually did a review on this album back in 2017. Just a great album. This, of course, was sent to me from, of course, Eddie Ashton, who, of course, was the bass player for this band. I'm just finally glad to have a copy of this one. Of course, hitting me up last year of wanting to send me a copy of this. So, since I already had a burned CDR, so I'll kind of show this off for a bit. So, here it is, back cover. They're not even selling this on their Bandcamp page, so in ways I think you only could get this off their Facebook, but this was sent to me free, basically, from the band. So, all great. There it is, and of course I can get out the booklet, but right now I'm hitting the 9 minutes, and I just want to at least just do a bit of more of a rundown of this stuff. So, there, the physical CD copy of Patagonia from a very good band, and the more and more I listen to this album, this is still really fucking good. This has some of the best, I think one of the best 15-minute songs ever, and that being the title track, and it's a great track, but everything's on here is very, very fucking good. So, yeah, Patagonia from Blind Horse. Next up here, this is an album I don't always bust out here and there. That's, of course, is Bark at the Moon from Ozzy Osbourne. This was the third album for Ozzy, and the first one to not feature the late Randy Rhoads, but the first one to feature new guitar player Jakey Lee, who of course had also replaced alright, is Brad Gillis, I believe. Yeah, the guitar player who'd played on the, what do you call it, Talk at the Devil, I think, over in Britain, or Speak of the Devil, the live album. But still, the thing is, this is, of course, is the about this one. This, of course, is the 2002 pretty much remaster of it. And when it comes to a lot of the remasters of some of the Ozzy Osbourne albums, they are very much hated, especially with and it's very much true with the first two albums, Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman, which were all fucking terrible, though. They were very unnecessary. But this one, it actually would say you can call this a natural remix, because instead of just re-recording parts, it just stuck with all the original recorded parts, just did interesting stuff with this. And if you ask me, I actually prefer this mix over the original mix, because of it actually, there's a lot of pros with this one than really cons, because I always kind of found the original mix very trebly, very thin, and it just sounded very it didn't give the album much of a good power to it, and here, this actually does. I think Bob Daisley's bass is a little more prominent in this mix than in the original mix, if you ask me, which is kind of funny, because of Sharon was trying, with these remixes, tried to avoid trying to give the guy at least some royalties. But here, I don't think they couldn't, and I think in this way, I seem on purpose to actually kind of lift the bass a little bit higher in the mix, and also in a way make Tommy Aldridge's drum sound more punishing, sound more dominant, and a lot more punchier in here than did on the other one. I think it lacked a lot of, lacked quite a bit in here, and he just sounds really good on the drum sound. Just sounds really good. The snaring and everything doesn't sound thin. It sounds great. And I also think that Jake Ely's guitar tone sounds really good. On the original mix, it seemed like they only cloned the left guitar track and just basically put on the right again, and it just made it sound very wonky, trying to make it sound stereo-esque, but it just sounded like shit. So in here, they did a lot of things, if I ask me, fixed a lot of stuff that actually kind of made the other one kind of lacking a bit in terms of mixing and just the overall sound. But still, definitely, and in ways it actually kind of heightened up a little bit of the album. I think it actually sounds pretty good, though I still skip So Tired. One of the worst fucking songs Ozzy has ever written. But everything else, up to even the bonus tracks like Spiders and one up the B-side, just saved the album in a way. Though I still would like to get an original European pressing of it, with at least have a copy with the original mix. Still, though, I actually kind of prefer this mix over the original, and I am not guilty of saying that. So, there, talked about that one long enough. So, Bark at the Moon from Ozzy Osbourne. The one that's playing in the background here is also another one I got when I was down in Fresno. That's, of course, is this one right here. It's playing in the background, which I actually ripped this in the computer. This is, of course, Total Eclipse with Ashes of Eden, a very new band. A band I'm very new to. Just some great power metal out of San Francisco. Just pretty good power metal, that's all I can say. Produced by Lulis, who of course is these days a guitar player for Accept. So of course debut on the Rise of Chaos album. And he definitely gives the band a pretty good punch, especially when it comes to the guitar tone on here. Very good stuff, very good US power metal. That's pretty much what I consider them. There's the back of there, give you an idea what the band looks like. But still, album's good. I actually like this. Pretty good stuff. So, Total Eclipse with Ashes of Eden, released in 2002. Another one here, of course, I did a review on this one already. It's a new album. It's, of course, Zenith from Enforcer, and I can go on a brief description. In that review, I pretty much said this album it's not as bad as anyone said. It's definitely not the best thing from the band, but it's good. But upon every listen, I tend to skip Regrets and Sail On and just leave the whole album, the rest of the songs playing. And if you ask me, it flows really pretty decent without Regrets and Sail On, which I think the track Regrets, I get it, it's ambitious, but I think it almost breaks the flow of the album, and And also, to some extent, Sail On also kind of breaks it. And Sail On feels more like a B-side kind of track instead of actually something that should be mixed in with the album. And when skipping these two songs, it actually kind of makes the album flow really good. Even though not everything is perfect, I actually enjoy a lot better without those two songs. But so with that, it's an album that I like when I skip those two. So for that, Zenith from Enforcer, just a decent album, above average from Enforcer. Alright, new Fairly one. Let me do this so I can wrap this up here. Been kind of listening to quite a bit of Jake Owl's band also recently. On this one, I never really listened to very much. That's, of course, the Sanctuary. If you ask me, I kind of like the sound a little bit better than Monkey Island, even though Monkey Island's not a bad album. But I think when it comes to at least this band, who are very known for being a really good, energetic, bluesy rock and roll band and stuff, and especially I really like a lot of their earlier stuff, which is pretty good, really good stuff. But the Hotline, I think, was probably the last one that really had that sound. To begin with, Monkey Island, they pretty much kind of wanted to do things a little bit differently, kind of almost push themselves a little bit forward, but it seemed like they also took away something that at least made them unique in a way, that kind of made them stood out from a lot of the rest of your typical commercial rock bands at the time of the 1970s. But that sound, even though it's got the commercial edge to some of it with this one, did thanks to producer Joe Wissert. Musically, it's a lot more, it definitely brings back a lot of some of those characteristics, but it's definitely a little bit more commercial, though not quite being on the level of something like, I'd say, a Freeze Frame. Even though I got a lot of childhood memories with that album is definitely one where it sounds, at times, almost uncharacteristic of what you expect from a band who is known for being this sort of wild, bluesy rock and roll band. But still, this is definitely good. Probably pretty much the last of their 70s stuff, and probably the last of some of their good ones, and the last good one. So, there, Sanctuary from the Jake Owl's band. Last one, this is definitely one I definitely purchased recently. That's, of course, is this one, Eclipse from Journey. Released back in 2011, and at this point, still the last sound the band released. And every time I see this at Walmart, I always pass over it because of, I love those first three albums of Greg Rowland, and I do like some of the ones with Steve Perry, mostly Infinity and Evolution. Even also Dream After Dream, the album that was only released in Japan, and of course Captured, their live album, which I think is some of the best album with Steve Perry on vocals, because it's a live album, and it definitely takes some of the best stuff from those three albums that he did with Journey, like, again, Infinity, Evolution, and, of course, Departure. But after that, I pretty much could completely erase and stuff and not give a shit about. I once borrowed a copy of Escape a long time ago and thought it was garbage. But still, I pretty much up with that. I know there's other vocals that came, and this is the one with, of course, the Filipino guy. What's his name here? Something Panita, I think. So let me just take out the booklet here. I'm almost done here. It's just going on for a little bit, but I'm almost done here. Here we go, right here. Arnel Pineda. I never cared about Given, because Given his stuff with Journey a chance, because I always kind of just thought it was going to be rehashing of that sort of real cheesy, paint-by-numbers 80s sound that Journey kind of went with in the 80s, like that sort of real paint-by-numbers AOR commercial rock sound. But giving this a listen, I actually quite like this. Of course, the sound was produced by Kevin Shirley, of all people, who is best known for producing a lot of the recent Iron Maiden material, mostly from Brave New World up to about the Book of Souls. And it's very funny to me. But this sound right here, he actually, in a way, gives the band a pretty solid stuff. And there's some pretty good songs on here. And when it comes to some of the ballad stuff, reminds me more of the stuff off of Dream After Dream instead of something like off of Departure or even Escape or Frontiers, or those really cheesy albums. It's almost got a very proggy feel to some of it, and there's also some songs that really harkens back to the 70s stuff, like Human Feel could have easily been on like Journey's Next, or was it Look Into the Future, while the song Venus, which is the very last track in an instrumental, could have easily been on their debut album. Definitely it's got that fusion-y feel to it, and it's very great, and definitely lets both drummer Dean Castronavo and of course Neil Schon, which most of the sound, Neil Schon definitely struts his stuff quite a bit, really being very dominant and with most of the sound, but Dean Castronavo to really kind of let loose, and I'm best known for him being with bands like Wild Dogs and Dr. Mastermind and stuff, and he's able to really pull out some really great drum work on that song. So there, Eclipse from Journey, very solid album, and I kind of wish people would have actually give Arnel Pineda a bit more of a chance, because of his stuff with Journey is pretty good compared to a lot of the stuff with Steve Perry and so on. So there's that. That's about it. I'm pretty much about finished here. So I hope you all enjoyed. I'm also kicking back, drinking some Heineken. So I hope you all enjoyed this. Of course, you have anything to comment on, go ahead. There's a lot of stuff you probably have and probably have heard. So with that, you could comment down on the comment section below. So until then, this is Heavy Thrasher Sam out. See y'all later. Take care, everyone. Ah.